Big Zay.
Morning, Brad.
Morning, boys. What's going on?
Well, great work yesterday, as you always do great work, and that was real. I didn't see that anywhere else. That was very interesting, the way you broke down what's going on with the linebacking core and the fact that one source told you that Tremaine Edmunds may be out multiple weeks. That's pretty scary stuff. We keep waiting for TJ Edwards to get back. He's got two injuries, the hand and the hamstring, and I believe that Edmunds now has a groin injury. We know Noah Sewell is down. So, Brad, do you anticipate how damaging would it be for the Bears if they are indeed down their top three linebackers?
Well, it's going to be a scramble for Dennis Allen, the defensive coordinator. There's no question about it, and he's been doing that pretty much all season across the board. You look at that linebacker position, and they've had their top three linebackers healthy and available for one game this season in its entirety, that being the game at the end of October at Baltimore, that loss. Every other game, they've either been down one of them for the entire game, or you had like the situation in Cincinnati where TJ Edwards gets hurt late. You had at Detroit where TJ Edwards got hurt on the first play of the third quarter. You had at Washington, I think TJ was out of that one. Noah Sewell got a concussion there. So all three of them missing would be a situation that would likely force DeMarco Jackson and the rookie Ruben Hippolyte into a starting position against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fortunately, not the kind of rushing attack that the Steelers prefer to have. Certainly over the years, they are 29th in rushing at just under 89 yards a game, and they've struggled at yards per carry. Now, that being said, Jaylen Warren's average is significantly higher than their team's, and if he's got an opening, he could do some damage against the Bears.
So, Brad, how would you interpret the full participation by Jalen Johnson in Thursday's practice? And if indeed he is on track to play on Sunday, what are the particulars and the boxes they still have to check to make sure that he's activated, and then who else might be going if he is?
Well, he and Kyler Gordon are kind of waiting until Saturday at 3 p.m. for them to, that would be the deadline for them to make a roster move and officially bring them back from IR and place them on the 53-man roster. Certainly the team could announce its intentions a little bit later today in Lake Forest. I'm kind of doubtful that will happen, but a full participation in practice is a good sign. I think you want to see how his body responds this morning, right? How he felt after practice yesterday. And that would be big to get their top cornerback in the mix. No question about that. They can find a roster move to make a spot for that player, no question.
Am I wrong to be hesitant about some of these guys coming back as quickly as we're talking about, really Jalen Johnson in particular, given the fact that he didn't get any kind of preseason? He came back for one game, had, 21 plays, something like that, and has been lost since then. I'm not saying that they're not doing all their medical research and everything else, but just the idea of opening the window on the guy and then bringing him back, I hope it has nothing to do with anything other than his personal health.
Well, it certainly doesn't have anything to do with the linebacker situation, because they can't line up Jalen Johnson at that position. I don't know. I think they were cautious with him the first time, too. Remember, there was the discussion of targeting the season opener for his return, and they didn't bring him back for the season opener. He came back in week 2. So I would think that if he's activated for this game on Sunday against the Steelers, they feel abundantly clear that and safe that he's ready to roll. Before he had the return to practice window opened last Friday, and there's no question he was doing some running, right? As part of the rehab, while you're on IR, you're doing exercises. You are out there running. So it's not like he first started running last Friday. He first started running in practice last Friday.
So because of let's connect the dots here then. I mean, the linebacker situation is muddled and you're playing inexperienced guys, and you might have two bona fide starters coming back to your secondary. Brad, Dennis Allen among the options, do you expect to see, like if you play 70 defensive snaps, a majority of them with 5 and 6 defensive backs? Do you 60, 70%? What do you think the plans would be? And against the Steeler offense, what do you think is the best route?
Well, the Bears went. The Bears had 5 defensive backs on the field for every snap last week at Minnesota. The Vikings went to 12 personnel. The Bears stayed in nickel. So I would expect them to lean on their nickel package a lot. I don't know about dime because Pittsburgh is 8th highest in the league in snap count of 12 personnel. One of the tight ends is that enormous monster, Dwayne Johnston, who said, Dwayne Washington, who said on the St. Brown podcast that although the Steelers list him at 6'7", 264, he's actually 6'7", 311, and he can move, right? So that's one of the tight ends. So eighth in the league in snaps out of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends on the field, and the Steelers are second in the league in 13 personnel with 3 tight ends on the field. So does Arthur Smith look at the situation and the chess match against Dennis Allen and say, well, we're going to go big here and see about running the football and how they react? And in those situations, you would think the Bears are going to need two linebackers on the field anyway to try to stop that. But again, as I said earlier, fortunately, it's been a tractor pull for the Steelers trying to run the football for much of this season.
That is very interesting. That particular bit of comment there that they have been struggling to run the ball all season. That could potentially help the Bears given, the injuries at linebacker. But I wonder, do the Bears have enough to really start dominating a bit with their defensive line? Who in particular, we always talk about Montez Sweat, but, we see Dominic Robinson came back, Austin Booker. Can they get to Rodgers, or is he get rid of the ball too quickly? What would the avenue towards stopping that offense be in terms of defensive line play?
Well, I think stopping the run, especially if the Steelers want to try to exploit the linebacker issue, and it's going to be really difficult to get to Rodgers because the ball comes out so quickly. We've seen that for years when he was in Green Bay, and I think that clock, the internal clock that Rodgers has, is sped up even more now. You watch them play, and he really wants to avoid the contact. He wants to get the ball out of his hands, and so he's being quick. So to hit him, you may have to dial up some pressure. You may have to blitz a little bit. And you're going to have to be careful with that because he's seen every blitz that's ever been created, and he knows the weaknesses for all of them. And if he's got just enough time, he could make you pay.
Brad, I'm really fascinated by the Steeler defense because they are 3rd in the NFL in sacks, and they yet have given up more passing yards per game than any in the league as well. So I don't know how those two things compute. I wonder, do you expect if the Bears, I know they're going to probably try to establish the run, but when they do pass, do you expect them to try to push the ball down the field more than they have in previous weeks?
I don't know that you want to, get out of doing what you've been successful with. I think when they do get downfield, hopefully they connect. That was one of the things that they talked about coming out of the Minnesota game last week, is some missed opportunities for some deep plays at the beginning of that ball game that could have, if you hit them, that probably leads Brian Flores to shift how he's calling the game a little bit. Like you start connecting big downfield, and he's not going to be blitzing cornerbacks left and right anymore. So I think try to run the football. This is going to be a really physical game. Like this is old school football. I think it's going to appeal to people. I think this game is going to be won in the trenches, but I don't know that the Bears get away from what they're doing. I think there's some stuff they can clearly take advantage of if they can hold up against the pass rush from the Steelers with T.J. Watt, with Nick Herbig, with Highsmith. I mean, the Steelers come at you a lot of different ways. But I don't know necessarily about trying intentionally to, hey, we're gonna get our deep game going. That's one of the things that Caleb hasn't been real accurate with.
We should mention this segment with Brad Biggs, sponsored by Estwing Professional Tools, made in the USA for over 100 years, estwing.com. So what is your thinking about the way this game goes?
Yeah, I think again, I'll go back to what I just said. I think this is really one where it's going to be one up front, and I think it's a great test for Ben Johnson and his coaching staff to kind of see where their team's at right now. Or would beating the Steelers, who are 6-4, is that like a measuring stick team? No, like they're not coming in 8-2. They're not a Super Bowl favorite or anything like that. But what's the one thing that you hear Ben talk about when he talks about the identity of his football team? And he talks about it across the board, not just defense, special teams, offense. It's across the board, the desire to be physical. And I think this is a Mike Tomlin team that it hangs its hat on the same thing, being physical. So the team that's able to prevail on Sunday is maybe the one that is able to sort of flex its might in this battle.
Who'd you pick?
Yeah, I went with the Bears. I feel a little bit less confident in it now, knowing that the linebacker situation is most likely going to be really thin. But they played well. They got an opportunity for this could mark their second 4-game winning streak this season. Think about that. Like they've had an awful lot of 4-game losing streaks between now and the last time that they had 2. It's just the success, the belief. They've got some momentum. They are elsewhere starting to get healthier outside of the linebacker position. So I think this is a good spot for him. Rodgers clearly, isn't 100%. If he comes in and starts, which I think most people expect, with that left wrist injury. So I think it's a chance for the Bears to stay on the remarkable roll that they've been on here.
Got a score?
27-20.
Okay, that's good.
I was gonna pick a 1 or 2 point game, and like at some point these Bears games aren't going to be decided in the final 60 seconds.
Promise?
Whether it's a win or a loss, at some point that's no longer going to be the case.
Brad, if they do what we all predict them to do. We all pick the Bears as well, which is scary. Then you wake up Monday morning and they're 8-3. Are you looking at this team? How inconceivable? Would have seemed like a very dumb question, I think, in August, but this is a team that can win the NFC North.
Yeah, right. I mean, they're first place right now, but they've got a lot of work to do. They are hitting the big boy part of the schedule, and the Steelers are just the first in a string of games against better opponents that they're going to encounter. And you take a look at kind of what they did or how they got to a 2-point victory at Minnesota, a 4-point win over the Giants, a miraculous, final minute at Cincinnati. Like, I don't think those efforts beat better football teams with regularity anyway. So the degree of difficulty is going to be ratcheted up, and they're going to have to be better from kickoff to the final minute. From the start of the game to 59 minutes in, they're going to have to be better. We've seen what they can do in the final 60 seconds. I think they've got to be more complete before they get to those final 60 seconds against the higher caliber opponents, which start on Sunday. This is a chance for them to own a win over a team that has a record above 500. Big opportunity for them here.
Brad, just curious, do you think there's any way that what's going on with Aaron Rodgers is more gamesmanship than anything else? Do you think there's any way he doesn't play in this game?
Well, I think with Rodgers, you don't want to make a whole lot of assumptions. He's done it his way, and his way for a very long time at a high level. Nothing would shock me with him, but I think knowing the competitor that he is, he's going to do everything he can to play to convince the team that he's able to play. And if it's a situation where he's simply not, he might do everything in his power to be as coy as possible and make it appear as if he's going to play. So, which he could be good at as well.
Great stuff, Brad.
Great stuff, Brad. Thank you, buddy.
See you Sunday.
Have a great weekend, guys.